Good morning. Welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show on this beautiful Saturday morning, August the 12th, 2023. What has this day got in store for us? Vote right, my people in Liberia. This is the election season. And right now, the people in Liberia are campaigning. Let there be peace in the land. Let there be peace in the land. We hear that the opposition parties, the candidates are being attacked. People wearing the paraphernalia, the uniforms, the T-shirts, the signal, the regalia, and ensembles. They're being attacked. And this has to stop. We cannot tolerate this for our election this year. That's why we are here monitoring this election, trying to ensure that there is peace and stability in Liberia, trying to ensure that our democracy holds. And this is where we are. This is where we are. It is a challenge that each and every one of us must step up to the plate to. We cannot neglect our responsibilities to our nation. We cannot forsake our obligations to our people. This election must be free and fair. This election must be peaceful. This election must be civil. We must rise to the plate as civilized people and uphold our democracy and its tenets. And make sure that no Liberian violates our laws, our constitution, our civil standing. This is a challenge for all Liberians. This is a challenge for all patriots who want to see our nation and people move in a positive direction. We can no longer sit on the fence and say that now our team, that the people team. No, that all our team. But days for all of that, sitting on the fence and saying that the people team, that now our team, is long gone. It's long gone. Liberian people today have grave responsibilities and duties that we must step to the plate to uphold. Are you ready? Are you a patriot? Can you stand on the foundation and legacy of what our nation has been from time immemorial? We are a nation of freedom fighters. We are a nation of liberators. We are a nation of men and women who hold high our values and principles and legacy of freedom, justice, and the rule of law. And we cannot relent. We cannot relent because this is not a thing for Zugos. It's not. It's not. We must stand on the foundation that our forefathers have left for us. Our nation has never been perfect. Our nation has had many flaws, injustices, misdirection. But through it all, our nation has withstood the test of time. For nearly 200 years, we have existed as a nation and a people. One people, one nation. With all our diversities, with all our problems and issues, we have remained one nation and one people. Why? Because of what we believe in. Because of our destiny to change the direction of our race. The challenge has always been there for us, my people. It has always been there for us. And this is why it is an even greater challenge today for us to rise up from the depths of degradation and starvation and impoverishment and meet the challenge as patriots of this first Negro Republic in Africa. The challenge is ours. And if you are a man or a woman, you will step to the plate like a patriot and accept the challenge. Because there's nothing else for us to accept now. We have touched rock bottom and we can't go down no more. So as a people, as a struggling and deprived people, we must rise up together. The time of the Liberian people is now. We either accept this challenge or we'll be like fools and run away. But throughout our history, we have never run away from trouble. Through our history, we have never backed down from the enemies. And it is demonstrated throughout our history that in times when we could not fight or have had the means to fight, we fell upon our knees and called upon Jesus Christ. And he answered us. He answered us. Go through our history books. When the Germans came to bomb us twice, and we had no means to defend our nation, our president called upon the nation of Liberia to fast and pray because our only ultimate weapon, fast and pray. And what happened in the end? We came out victorious. For some reason, the Germans decided not to bomb our country. For some reason, we had the joke that when the Germans wanted to bomb Liberia, they were all the generals standing over the map, and Hitler had his thumb on Liberia, so they couldn't find Liberia. Where is this Liberia? Where's the end? They were looking all over for Liberia. They couldn't find it because Hitler had his thumb on that small little nation called Liberia, and his whole thumb was covering Liberia, so they could not find Liberia to bomb Liberia. So they withdrew their forces from the West African Ocean. That's what our side of the story. But our history books tell the real story. That when the Germans came to attack us and we had no means of defending our nation and ourselves, our president called upon the people, his people, to go to the churches, to go to their homes, to fall on their knees and to pray. Aluta continua. The struggle continues. The struggle continues. We have always had this ultimate weapon. That was why Liberia was founded. And we have realized throughout our history from time immemorial that our nation blessings rest on our principles of Christianity. And that's why we have prospered. We have not been conquered nor colonized by the major colonizers of Africa. We're not. God spared us. America didn't want Liberia. America had no interest in Liberia except that they wanted to send us there, us black people there. And the only reason why they allowed us to fly the American flag. And once the American flag were on the Liberian soil, the British and the French would not come on that soil. They tried to steal our land. They did steal our land. Liberia was not the way it is. Our land was a box or a square. But after the French came and took their part, a dip in there, then they dip in there on the other side for Ivory Coast, then the British dip on this side for Sierra Leone, then the ocean blocked us from going any further. Our nation became as it is today. But our nation wasn't that. Our nation, when you look at the map or the olden days or the ancient map, Liberia was a square or almost a rectangular shaped nation. But after the French and British took their share, we have this loop-sided nation now. But be it as it may, we as Liberian people still have ultimate duties and responsibilities to our nation and people that we cannot, must not forsake. We can't. Because if we forsake it, then we'll not be like the rest of the people of the world. We'll be like animals. Because everybody in the world knows that it's important to have a home, a place that you can call your own, that you can lay the foundation for your own progress and advancement as you desire it. And if we fail as a people to step to the plate and assume our responsibilities and duties that are inherent in all peoples of the world, then we are not human beings. We are lower than human beings. And the white man's right. We are inferior. But the reason why Liberia was founded was not only to be free. Yes, Haiti has set the example for us. Haiti was the first black nation in the world to be free. That was the concept, or their concept, to be free of white rule. And they achieved that. But we had a greater mission that came to Africa. Our mission was not only to be free, because the Haitian people, their religion is voodoo. Some of them are Christians, yes. But their major religion is voodoo. Now they intermingle it with Christianity. But for us, in the West African Republic of Liberia, we have always claimed that the foundation of our nation and people rests on our beliefs in Jesus Christ. We have always proclaimed that from the founding of Liberia. And that's where the name came from. Reverend Finley and all the Baptist people in America. Reverend Finley was the big Baptist white man that was instrumental in founding Liberia, especially leading the Christian sector. I told you there were 4 different groups that formed Liberia. Liberia was not just formed by black people in America, no. Black people had no power in America. That's why Liberia is a blessing from God, because there were 4 groups of people that formed America, Liberia, and Liberia was founded in the halls of the Congress of the United States of America. It was founded in the halls of Congress. All these big shots just got together in the hall and said, look, let's form this country where we can send these Africans to. We're tired with these people. But so there were 4 groups. The first group you had, we cannot put them in any order, but we know that the Christians in America have always been fundamental in return of the Liberian people to our nation. So the Christians were very fundamental. And who was a major proponent of the Christian group? It was Bishop Finley of the Baptist Church. He was very prominent. Then we had a nice group with the abolitionists. All these black guys that wanted us to go back. Not Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was against repatriation to Liberia. He didn't want black people to go back to Liberia. That was the problem we had in America that many people don't know. For the black people to go back to Liberia, it was a big thing in America. It was a very, very big thing. Repatriation, going back to Liberia, it was a big thing because the American government wanted to send all the black people. And there were black people here that did not want to go back, like Frederick Douglass and all the abolitionists that have fought for the freedom of black people here, and felt that because of the struggle to be free, and because they were born in the nation, they were not Africans. What did they go back to Africa for? They didn't know nobody in Africa. They had been born and bred here and educated here and live here and work here and everything here. What are they going back to Africa for? Africa wasn't for them. That was that group of Africans. Then you had the other group of Africans, that our people who wanted to go back to Africa. We were tired with the bullshit. We were tired with the lies. We were tired with the treachery. We were tired with the deceitfulness. And we want to go back to Africa. So let's go back. So this was the fuss. So the white people wanted to send us in mass. They wanted to just catch all of us, put all of us on the boat and send us back. And that was some Africans were fighting against it. They said, no, Frederick Douglass then said, no, we're not going back. We don't know nobody in Africa. We were born there, we spent our whole lives, and what we going back to Africa for? What in Africa for us? Nothing in Africa for us. So that brought bitterness among us. Black people fought. There was some bitter meetings. That was, you see, some black people didn't want to hear about Africa. They do, because it brought some bitterness among them. Because the white people wanted to send us as a group. And some black people be damned, they didn't want to go back. And there was some other black people who said, yeah, let all of us go back. They weren't considerate of the other blacks that wanted to stay. So that brought some big fuss among black people in America. That was that today some black people don't want to hear about Africa. They don't want to hear about Africa. That was from the 1800s. It brought bitterness among us. So you had the abolitionists, pro and con, those who wanted to come and those who wanted to leave. Then you had the white men who had children by slave women. And they loved their children. They didn't want their children to suffer under their other brothers and sisters that were white. So they decided that let our children go home. Let them go to their mother country. They are mulattoes. They know that their fathers are white. When they go there, they will still be loyal to their fathers. And it did happen. We had trouble with the Republicans in Liberia. They were the children of the mulattoes. They were the mulattoes of the white fathers, the children of the white fathers. Then finally, you had the slave owners who wanted to get rid of slaves. Send them back, man. Send all the niggas back. They want freedom? Yes, send them back. Here's my correspondent. Let me bring Mr. Samuel. I see Mr. Samuel woke up behind me, problem to come on. Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, brother, I'm okay this morning.
The
Bad
people be
weather.
the people be keeping you off, man.
I tell you, it's bad weather. Yeah, man. They're trying to block me.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just talking about Liberia and the four groups that founded Liberia. There were four groups of people in America that founded Liberia. Liberia was not founded by the American government alone. The American government actually had no say in founding Liberia. That was Liberia was founded by the American Colonization Society. But the American Colonization Society was made out of government officials and their family members. Like um, Bruce Washington, one of the red men, had his brother involved in it. So his brother was one of the big slave owners, and he was one of the big abolitionists for the American Colonization Society too. You have Francis Scott Key, who was a big man in Congress. He was the man that wrote the national anthem of America. Too much noise behind you there, Sam.
Yeah, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm out.
Well, the people that can't be yelling like that. I know you are right, so. But anyway, so those four groups and like the ACS, the American Colonization Society, was founded in. It was just established on right just immediately in the hall of the Congress of the United States of America. All the people just came out in the Congress and said, man, let's see how we have these black people go back to, and they were just talking, and they formed the ACS there, and the groups of people that were interested in Liberia decided what to do right there. So like the ACS were founded right in the halls of Congress. They got together and said, okay, well, let's form a group that will perpetuate this idea. Yeah, what we're gonna call it, the American Colonization Society, and that's how it was formed. And the four group of people that were involved with forming the ACS were one, the religious people. There was a bishop called Bishop Finley of the Baptist Church. He was a powerful bishop in America. And he was one of the men that spearheaded the repatriation of black people to America, to Africa. And his reason for doing it was that when the Liberians come back to Africa, they will spread Christianity throughout Africa, which we did. So that was the whole idea for joining the Colonization Society. Then the second group you had were the abolitionists, those black people who wanted to come home. But within the abolitionists, you had the opposition too. Because the white people wanted to send all of us back to Africa. And there were some black people who were abolitionists who did not want to come back to Africa, like Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass said, no, we don't want to go back to Africa. We were born here. We grew up here. We were slaves here. We know nothing about Africa. Why we go back into Africa to what? So they rebucked it. They refused it. And this brought a great confusion between those who wanted to come and those who wanted to stay. Because the white people were thinking about sending all of us in a group. They weren't thinking about separating us. But after people like Thomas, like Frederick Douglass begin to resist the colonization, then there was a big fuss among black people. That's why you see some black people didn't want to hear about Africa today, because there was a big fuss. Some were saying, oh, let all of us go. Some were saying, no, all of us don't have to go. So in the end, they resolved that who all want to go can go. Who all don't want to go can stay. So that's why those that came to Liberia did not want to have anything to do with those in America, and those in America did not want to have anything to do with those in Liberia. That's where it started. Because of colonization, there was a big fuss. Who would go back? Who want to stay? The white people wanted to send all of us, and most of us wanted all of us to come. But there were a few blacks that said, no, we don't want to go to Africa. We don't know Africa. So that brought bitterness among us. That's why you see that even to today, some black people don't want to hear about Africa because they wanted to force them to come to Africa and they didn't want to come. So that was the second group. The third group was the white people that had children by the slave women. And they loved their children. Some of them didn't love their children. But this group loved their children. And they didn't want their children to stay in America because they knew that white society would never accept their black children as equals. And they did not want their black children to be servants of their white children, of their white brothers. So they joined the colonization society to send their children back to Africa with the hope that their children would become the leaders and rulers of Africa, which the Republicans in Liberia tried to do. Then the fourth group was the slave owners who hated black people and didn't want us in America no more, especially the free black. They say, hey, when you get freedom, get out of America. You want your freedom, then agree to leave America. Those were the four group of people. The church, the abolitionists, the fathers of black children who loved black children, and the slave owners who wanted to get rid of the free slaves because they were bad influence on the slaves they had. So, and secondly, they didn't need no slaves from Africa no more. They were growing slaves right in America, right in the Caribbean. People were being born into slavery. So you didn't need to send to Africa for slaves no more. So they had people here breeding children. They had women, black women, especially there just to have children, to breed slaves. So they didn't need African slaves no more. So those were the four groups that formed Liberia. And the reason why this is important for us to know is that we are a struggling race. Liberia, there were not only one colonization that formed Liberia. We had the ACS that formed Monrovia and the area around Monrovia. Then we had the Maryland Colonization Society. They founded Maryland. They were different from the ACS. They were independent. Their people came from Maryland, USA. That was they named that area Maryland. But after they stayed there and they were fighting the Grebels and all the people, and they couldn't fight them by themselves, so they asked the people in Monrovia to join them in Monrovia. So that's how Maryland was joined to Monrovia and all the places in between, the hinterland, Bassau, all the places were joined because when the people in Maryland asked to join the Monrovia Colonization Society because they couldn't survive alone, that changed the whole thing. So that's how Liberia, the hinterland, became connected to Monrovia, and we began to expand Liberia. But all of that is Liberian history that we need to learn, because all of that demonstrates that we are one people. And for the other 200 years, our nation has existed like this. We have had our wars, we had our disagreements, we had our disabilities and fuss, and we still exist as one people. We are still existing. So it behooves us now, in this modern age and day, to look at our country and to look at ourselves and to say, no, We can do better. We can do better. After 100 years, we can do better. Our nation and people can do better. What you got to say, Sam? Sam, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, the history is so unique, but yeah, you getting me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Hello,
What's happening?
hello.
What's happening?
So what happened in Liberia?
Of course, Sam.
Yeah, I mean the political yeah, this campaign season is getting blooded by the day.
What's happening?
It's getting blooded by the day. So nowadays, when you wear a sticker belonging to opposition parties, I'm saying the campaign is getting blooded by the day.
So you can't
The
wear a
ruling party,
T-shirt or
wherever you go with opposition, certain areas you can't go with opposition T-shirts or sticker on your car, on your moving vehicle, whatever, and it will beat you up. Yeah,
so
just yesterday you see, I've sent that.
the thing with the
Another taxi
violence.
driver was beating up.
You kidding me? So how is it today?
That's the no. Today it's gonna come. Today is Saturday. It's gonna come. Although I haven't gone to party headquarters, but for where I am, it's gonna quiet.
Well, that's good for now, yeah.
No news of any violence today.
That's good. That's good. So everybody up country and doing their camping, right?
Mm.
Yeah, we have a responsibility to ensure this peace in our country.
Are you getting me?
Yeah, what you saying?
The land is bad.
Yeah, I know. You can't do nothing about it. So what you saying?
Yeah, it can be started all over the country. Congo is in the southeast. I will gather.
And where is Cummings? Where is Cummings? Apparently my man having a difficult time. That what happens when the weather is bad in Liberia. We have this connectivity issue. But anyway, as I was saying, we have a serious responsibility to our country. We have a serious responsibility to ensure that our democracy survives and perseveres. If we don't, we'll lose everything. The very thing we're praying for and hoping for, we'll lose it to the Zogos. To the Zogos. And you can't blame them because they don't know any better. They're striving for survival too, as best as they can. And this is what happens in a poor nation. We have so many poor people struggling for the same meager resources. And with greed, with carelessness, with people who don't care about other people, selfishness, all these negative attributes cause people to suffer. Because people never satisfied with just having enough. They always want more. You never satisfied with enough. That's human nature. People always want reserve, We got to keep some a little bit. You never know what will happen in the future. Come on, man. That's selfishness. Yeah, you can say that's preservation of life. Yeah. But when there's meager resources, people can hoard things. You can't keep things for the future when other people don't have. So how do we level the playing field? How do we level the playing field? We all got to work together. We all got to know that our survival depend on the next man too. That we can't live until we work together. My survival depend on yours and yours depend on mine. When we have that kind of outlook, then we are more toward helping each other than robbing each other. And this is what we need in our society. This is how we need to look at each other and how we address situations in our society. But when we continue to look at each other as enemies or competitors, we can never achieve nothing positive. We can't achieve nothing positive. You know? And this is the problem we face time and time again. Because we're not looking at things with the real lenses. We're not looking at it. Everybody looking at it from the perspective of what's in it for me. What's in it for me? And when we got meager resources like we have in our country, what's in it for me is more like a selfish approach. It's a selfish approach. Because that means then turns to what's in it for us. That's the only way we can help each other. Because we look at it from the selfish perspective of what's in it for me, other people will be left out because there's not enough to go around. But when we look at it from the perspective of what's in it for us, then we are understanding of the fact that the resources we have is not enough for one man to claim it all. The resources we have are not enough for a few people to claim it all. When we look at it from the perspective of what's in it for us, then we understand that what meager resources we have must be shared, must be preserved, must be protected, or else all of us will suffer. So that's the perspective we got to come from. This what's in it for me is not working. It's a selfish perspective. Whenever you come with that ideal of what's in it for me, it cannot work in our country. Our country too small for what's in it for me. If everybody come in it with what's in it for me, there will be nothing left for nobody. And that's why we have violence, injustices, and unfairness. Because when we come with the perspective of what's in it for me, we have no consideration of the other people's well-being. But when we change that perspective to us, what's in it for us, that gives us the perspective of consideration, of Christian living. That all Christian living is about sharing. Sharing what's in it for us. Not for me, but for us. When we come from that kind of perspective, we are more willing to sacrifice. We are more willing to be tolerant. We are more willing to live in peace to coexist with other people. Because that the mentality of communal living. What's in it for us? But within us, there can still be individualism. We can all live together and each have our own individual likings. That what differentiates our economic system. When you talk about economy, and you talk about everybody having the same things and all of that, being equal, the Marxists talk about everybody having the same cars and same houses and everything. Then when you throw preferences in there, then you change that whole concept from communism to democracy. Because that's what differentiates capitalism from socialism and all of that. That was supposed to, but that's not a real way of life. Because it's supposed to be that way, that don't mean it's that way. It's supposed to be that way. Because when you're dealing with communism and capitalism and socialism and all those things where people share and there's communal living, preferences are diminished. It is preferences that divide us. Okay? Yes, I like a car, but my preference is a Cadillac. What's your preference? You see, when preferences bring it to subjectivity, the individual feelings of each person, the individual perspective. So that takes away the whole idea of the communal living. Because in the idea of communal living, we're all supposed to share the same things, supposed to live the same way, because the resources we have are limited. So one man cannot have a lot. Everybody share the same thing. Okay? The same amount of clothes, the same standard of living, basically all of that. But when you throw preference in there, if you give me preference, then you take me out of that communal setting, because that makes it personal and subjective. And that's capitalism, where we have preferences, where I can go out and make money to live the way I want to live. I don't want to live like a pauper. I want to live like a rich man. I got preferences. I want to wear Pierre Cardin and not Joe Blozo. No, those are preferences. And that one makes us different. That what changes our whole economic system. Preferences. Okay? Because what you prefer may be different from what I prefer. I may prefer something simple and nice, and you want something elegant and affluent. So that changes the whole perspective of survival. You see? So when you learn economics, and you learn about the different systems, we have the monetary system, capitalism, socialism, and Marxism, all those different systems, they deal with economy, survival. So when you hear people talking about Marxism or socialism, they are talking about things that impact the society. Production, the means of production, and how society live, how the means of production, everything, all those systems deal with the money. Those are monetary systems, because those are what moves our lives. That why in Africa we have no system, because we have nobody to develop concept of handling money or dealing with money in society. How does the money we make impact the society? Remember long ago we used to have the barter system, where people should trade. You give me a cow, I give you a goat. You give me a a banana, I give you a plantain. Some that how people used to trade long ago. Then in Rhode Island here, somebody came up with the idea to build a factory and hire people and pay them and change the whole concept of survival. The whole lives of human beings were changed right here in Rhode Island. That what make Rhode Island great. The Industrial Revolution started here, right here in Pawtucket with the Slater Mill. That's when people started, the whole system changed from going to the farm and using the barter system. The barter system was you go to the farm, you grow your banana. There was no money. There was no monetary system. Nobody used to give money. We should trade. You grow your banana, I grow my plantain. You come to the market, we trade. You give me 2 bananas, I give you 2 plantain. We go our separate ways. You go to somebody else who got arrow, you get them 2 arrow, they give you 2 plantain. You go to somebody else who got chicken, you get them 10 arrow, they give you 2 chicken. That's how human beings used to trade. Before we start paying people with money. It started in Rhode Island when they built the first factory here. That stopped the barter system. When they built the first factory, you didn't have to trade no more. We started making t-shirts and shirts and textiles to sell. So we couldn't barter it. There was no way to barter those things. You see? There was no market where you could carry 1 or 2 shirts and trade things with arrow. And no. People had to leave the farm now to come in the factory to work. That what changed the whole system. When Slater Mill was built in Rhode Island here, when the Brown brothers built the Slater Mill and brought old man Slater from, I think he came from Europe, somewhere there in Europe, to start the Slater Mill, to change the cotton into fabric to make cloth. That changed the whole system from barter. Because when they started making cloth and do clothing for people, you didn't have to go to sit down to sew or to go to the yarning machine and make yarn no more. That's the old system. Now you have machines to do all of that and faster. And you add a color. So you have blue shade, white shade. I think they say one of the colors that were hard to do was purple at that time. Only rich people usually wear purple because the machines could not do purple. So, but the other colors, people could do colors now. People could wear clothes. You didn't have to sit down and do it with a yarning machine and take days no more. The machine in one day time, a machine could turn all the cotton into yarn, into threads. Things that took days by hand in the olden days. People would do it by those cotton, by those yarn things. Now you had the machine doing all of that. That started right here in Rhode Island with the Slater brothers and the Slater, old man Slater and the Brown brothers. It started right here in Rhode Island. The first industrial mill. You go and see the river that the people used to use along the mills. They call it the Blackstone River. That was one of the most polluted river in the whole of America. Why? Because the people used to throw all the dyes, the dye they used to make to change the color of the clothes. That's what they say. Anytime they made clothes and you wanted to know what color the clothes was, look in the Blackstone River. Because all the dye they used to waste it in the Blackstone River, all the leftover dye, they used to throw all the old machines they threw in the river. They used to throw everything in the river. That was the most polluted river in America, the Blackstone River, because of the Industrial Revolution. So you had the Slater Mill now. There were no more bartering. They needed people to work from 8 to 4 to run the machines. Okay? Now you have cotton coming from the fields. In the olden days, the cotton got all kind of things in the cotton. Cotton is dirty. You got to clean the cotton. Cotton can have dirt in it. They got seeds in it. So with the cotton mill, with slither mill now, you have machine to take out all the seeds from the cotton. You had a machine to clean the cotton, stretch it out. If you also in cotton can be dirty and all together. So they had a machine to open the cotton now, to stretch it out, make it into yarns. The things that took days for people to do, you had a machine doing it in hours. Hours. And then they started using color on the clothes, making shirts, all these kind of things. And what they would do, they would make the yarn. And you know, when you go to buy the lapa, you see the people got the lapa all rolled up in this big yarn thing. That's what they did. As the cloth came out, they just roll it up on the spool. So you have this spool of cloth that may carry so many yards of cloth on it. So that changed the whole concept of barter. They needed people to work from 8 to 4 because people had to work the machine. And in the older days, they used to use the children too. A lot of children died from the machines too, because those machines, they needed it. There were machines that were so fast, you needed the children to put their hands in there and do the things. They lost their hands. They were killed by machines. Some of them bled to death. That was, at one time, they said the slither mill in Rhode Island was haunted. You hear children running around because that was the first industrial mill. And they did everything there. That place was noisy. They had the water. The Blackstone River too was used to turn the turbine to put electricity in the place. So everything came from the Blackstone River. So the Blackstone River was an essential part of the whole slither mill thing that was built on the Blackstone River. And all the mills that came out later, they were built along that river there. So that changed the whole world, man, from right here in Rhode Island. You know, I kept asking myself, when I came to Rhode Island, I kept asking myself, I said, God, why you brought me to this state? There are so many states. Why you brought me to this small state? They look like Africa. They look like Liberia. But as I learned the history of this great nation, I understood why God brought me here. Because this is the foundation of American leadership. The great men of America came from this nation. This Rhode Island, this small state, is no small state. I told you, it was the people, the farmers in Rhode Island that changed the American Constitution. The farmers changed it. All the states at that time, they were 13 states, I think. They were not 50 states. They were just 13 states. All the states wanted the Constitution as it was written. As the Constitution was written, initially, it did not have the Bill of Rights. What is the Bill of Rights? The Bill of Rights was written by Thomas Jefferson. It was the right that gave individuals freedom. Your right to associate, your right to religion, your right to movement, your right to different things. All the rights that were given to individuals were in the Bill of Rights. That's what they call it, the Bill of Rights. Because at that time, the Constitution was strictly for the federal government. It did not protect individual rights. Everything was for the sovereign or for the government. You must do this for the state. Eminent domain will take your property because the state wanted it for this. We'll do this because the state wanted it for that. Everything was for the state. That's how the Constitution was written. But when it came to Rhode Island, all the other states wanted to pass it like that. But when that Constitution came to Rhode Island, the farmers in Rhode Island said no, they were not going to sign it. Rhode Island was not going to sign the United States Constitution until they included the Bill of Rights. Why? Because they say the Constitution in America could not be supportive of the government alone. It has to demonstrate that the people had rights as well. So it was from this Rhode Island on Federal Hill. That's what they named in Rhode Island. They got a place here called Federal Hill. They named that place Federal Hill because that was the place that all the farmers came for the Constitution. They be damned Rhode Island will not sign the Constitution until the Bill of Rights was added. And they added it. And they added it. That's why we have the Bills of Rights today in the Constitution. And that is why Rhode Island is the biggest little state in the Union. If you haven't heard about that, you better listen to it. Rhode Island is the biggest little state in the Union. We big old, but we little. Aluta. Continue. My class is done for the day. I hope you learned something, people. The struggle continues. Our election is paramount and important. We can't forget about that. Okay, let's take it home. My class is done for the day. I'll see you next week. Take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. For you people in Liberia in the opposition party, be careful wearing T-shirts and things where those CTC boards are. They will beat the hell out of you. Have a good day.